Good day, everybody. It's Kerry from Mindful Moves, and today we're going to be looking at the people involved in teaching, particularly as we look at the child who is the center of the learning process. We ask, how is it that we can create a safe space in order for learning to take place? So we begin by asking, what is the child? And we put the child in the center of this natural learning process, this journey that they are already on. This is very important because so often when we come to the learning arena, we as the adults have an arrogance in believing that we have all the knowledge and we somehow have to pass it on or download it into this child's understanding. And so we begin with this child, we put them back, as I say, in the center, and we start asking, who is this little being standing in front of me? And how do I support them on this journey that they're already on? And so according to Wikipedia, biologically a child, or plural children, is a human being between the stages of birth and puberty, or between the developmental period of infancy and puberty. The legal definition of a child generally refers to a minor, otherwise known as a person younger than the age of majority. This is where we kind of start off with the very sad realization that children generally have fewer rights and less responsibility than adults. They are classed as unable to make serious decisions and legally must be under the care of their parents or another responsible caregiver. And so with that, we do need to understand that children have rights and we have the responsibility towards them. We need to uphold these. So have you ever wondered what these rights are? And as a bit of my homework, I actually went onto the interwebs, the internet, and I started searching, finding section 2B in the Bill of Rights entitled Children. And this is what it has to say about children. So children have the right to a name and nationality at birth, family care and parental care, basic nutrition, shelter, basic health and care services, education, social services, protection. So how do I honor these rights? So number one, a name and a nationality at birth. Well, as a teacher, it's actually very important for me to learn a child's pronunciation of their correct name. I was at a camp this weekend and it was very interesting as we spoke across cultures about names, their meaning, and also the discrimination that has come from the past in our country regarding needing a Christian, okay, inverted commas, or an English name, and what that actually means for some people. So some people have become, or they continue to feel quite oppressed by having to use this English or Christian name, so they explain it. And so again, it's very important to find out from our children, what is the name they'd have us call them, and then of course, how do I pronounce it correctly? This is the least that we can do to show respect to the person that we're dealing with. That respect must continue as we begin to create a home away from home. Children spend many hours in the classroom. In foundation phase, they spend most of their day with us. We as foundation phase teachers, I say parents, we know that time then that kid has called us mom. We as foundation phase parents, we have access to these children. Some of these children, we are seeing more hours in a day than their own parents are. And so we need to be a safe place for them, an emotionally safe place for them. Basic nutrition, while we are not nutritionists, we do have again the opportunity at lunchtime, when we should be watching children eating that nobody's choking, we have the opportunity to go around and see what is being sent in their lunchbox. This is a very good sign on what is happening in terms of health at home. The constant fast foods, as much as they're really nice to have, you know, if it's a daily thing that children are getting sent with leftover fast food, it can be a huge concern, because we know our processed foods do not have the amount of nutrients in that they should. We also need to see, how bland is this lunchbox? Are these children continuously sent with only yogurt and soft cheeses and 2-minute noodles because they're not able to chew? Because while that again, creates a safe eating time at school, it means that these children are not being offered enough of the different types of foods they need to develop their mouth muscles. And so again, while we are not experts in this field, it's definitely a place we can take note and a conversation that we can possibly have with our children's parents in terms of what it is that they're eating, and are they actually fueling their little body, their little vehicle, with the correct fuel. If I had to put diesel in a petrol car, I'm going to break my car. What is the fuel that we're giving our children so that they can concentrate in class? Shelter, getting to Maslow's law of hierarchy, we know that shelter, being physically safe, is in actual fact the very first tier. Are these children safe from the elements? Basic health care, so again, we're spending often more time with these children than their own parents have the opportunity to do so. Unfortunately, in the modern world, we are the ones who are going to notice if they are seeming more tired than usual, if their behavior is changing, if they seem down. And it is our responsibility to do so again, so that we can have that conversation with the parents. So Mrs. So-and-so, I see Johnny is seeming a bit down lately. I don't know if you've noticed. Is there anything up at home that we need to be made aware of? Is there anything we need to have a conversation about? And again, as we hopefully continue to open up the space and have these conversations, we're also going to begin to start noticing that things like retained primitive reflexes can result in behaviors and a sense of where we're at and our attitude towards life. And so these are incredibly important little things to be noticing in order to support our children. Education, we as the teacher, as we put the child in the center, we need to again ask if they are reaching their full potential. One child's full potential is going to be very different from another child's full potential, and we need to draw out, which we're going to talk about just now, but we're drawing out who they are, their individuality, yes, through a system that has been created to serve many. And that's why within the system we need to be able to shift and move and appreciate so that we can serve each child. Social services, so again, that's not really our space, but again, we are probably the people who are going to notice first if something is amiss. If this child is coming to school without lunch, the uniform is always dirty. Yes, there's many people who are battling, but those are the signs that the uniform is dirty. Lunch is not what it used to be. This child comes to school with extra bruises and bumps that they can't really explain to you. And so, of course, yes, we have a responsibility to take note, and where we have to actually report to the powers that be concerns that we have. And then protection. So yes, we absolutely have to do our best to protect children from all harm. Does it mean that school is a safe place where children aren't going to trip, where they aren't going to have confrontations? Absolutely not. But we are there to assist when that happens and mediate so that we can support these children in developing the characteristics that they do, good sense of character, and so they can also learn without being restricted from the activities that actually are so important for learning. As you go through, and if you've done this in terms of your teaching, as you go through your textbooks, you're also going to notice that one of the biggest barriers to learning is the overprotective parent who doesn't allow the child to get dirty and to play and to engage because of fear of learning, because of fear of falling. So we absolutely also then end up needing to mediate and chat to parents about the reasons why children are allowed to play. I don't know about you, but I always like going back to definitions because it just gives us a nice, straightforward explanation on something. And when we do that, it kind of allows us to challenge what's happening against that and ask, if this is the aim, if this is what I'm going towards, am I hitting the mark? Is what I'm doing important, or is it something that is not as important? And so with that, we look at the role of a teacher. What is the role of a teacher? And this actually comes from a quote here. So the education phenomenon is an interpersonal process whereby an adult provides help and support to a child en route adulthood. And there we go. That's the reference for that quote there. So what does this mean? This means, again, like I said earlier on, this is a process that is actually taking place within a child. And we're going to talk about this in times to come. But I can teach, but I can't learn a child. And we always laugh when somebody says, I learned somebody something. So learning is the verb that takes place when I grasp an idea. And of course, that is not the role of a teacher. We cannot somehow force a child to understand and grasp a concept. However, we can teach and we can educate. And the word educate and teach in itself also becomes different. So teach is the verb. I stand up and I somehow, in some way, hopefully looking at all the different learning styles, present the material in a way that the children can engage in it. To educate, again, becomes part of touching the golden clouds, so I like to say about it, touching the clouds, because we work, or this is moving into that abstract space that encompasses more than just that verb of standing up and delivering the lesson. So to educate somebody is far deeper in the fact that I'm now providing a space and an opportunity for a child to engage in a manner that they will learn from this experience. So let's take a look at this. So according to Collins Dictionary, the word educational comes from the Latin word educare. And this is so wonderful here. So educare actually means to draw out. So drawing out a child's personality and potential. It means to lead forth, to set an example, and it means to rear or to educe. So I'm trusting as we bring about these other words and their meaning again, it can provide for you a better mind image of what it means to teach, what it means to be an educator. So we as people live from the inside out, and as teachers we aim to draw out key qualities in our learners through the activities that we provide. Some synonyms to teaching is educate, instruct, to tutor, to coach, to train, to upskill, to ground, to indoctrinate, to brainwash, to drill, to discipline, to guide, to show, or to learn. So the learning again will be that child's experience of the work. So again, what does this mean? Some of the words that I'm saying sound really positive, while others have a bit of a negative connotation. So as you go through that list, ask yourself, am I indoctrinating children? Because is that the best way to support this internal process, as I go back to that first definition, in helping a child learn? And that's probably not the best place you want to be in. Do I want to brainwash these children? And very scary stuff as we look at what's happening in the world today, and some people's understanding of what education was way back when, and of course this understanding that we were creating a generation that was more susceptible to listening to authoritative figures rather than thinking for themselves. And yes, post-COVID we find ourselves in a very different world that starts to ask these questions. Am I here to be a follower? Am I here to fall in line? Or am I here to truly discover for myself who I am and where I fit in this world? And so I leave it there for you to contemplate some of those questions. I want to share these very powerful tenets which have been put together by Dr. Gary Landreth. He is a big pioneer in play therapy. I myself went on a play therapy course here in South Africa, which was available to everybody. As a teacher, I went in wanting to know more about play, especially in the ECD setting where we allow for so much free play, because we know that children process things through play. Obviously, psychologists who've gone on to do this can obviously offer it in their practice. So yes, if you're interested, get in touch and I can put you onto the people I studied through. But let me not sidestep too long here, as we need to actually consider what it is that he's put forward. So number one, so important. Children are not miniature adults. I don't know why we forget this as we get older. We remember what it was like to be a child. And then in the next breath, we pretend that a child has the understanding of an adult, has the life experience of an adult. We treat them like adults. When our little child comes home and says so-and-so was being mean, we're there to crucify that child back at the school as a parent the next day. Why is that? We feel like this child has done it on purpose and knows exactly what it is that they've done. And of course we misunderstand and we forget that these are just children who need to develop these characteristics, these traits. Another thing, our children are very good at mimicry, that's probably a better way to say it. They have a lot of mirroring neurons happening at these younger ages, right at the back of their right side of their head in terms of neurofeedback. They can copy sayings, they can roll their eyes, they're picking up on all the non-verbal communication, and they can act it out. But that does not mean that they fully understand what it is that they are saying and what they are doing. And it is incredibly, I feel, even abusive to treat your 6-year-old like a 16-year-old. To put that kind of expectation on that little child who is not there yet, it is damaging. We should not treat these children as little adults who are capable of understanding the world that we do, and therefore making sound and appropriate decisions. Every single little thing that they do, whether they lash out, whether they get upset, whether they act in an antisocial manner, we need to mediate and teach them how it is that they can respond to the same emotions in a more positive way or assertive way. Children are people, okay? They have a right to be heard and understood. They are unique and worthy of respect, okay? Again, getting back to our schooling system, as much as we have a schooling system that tries to make sure everybody has a basic understanding and a platform to develop who they are from there, a lot of the time it does not take into consideration the uniqueness. And this is where in our classrooms we need to come, to the arena from that understanding. Children are resilient to a point, and this is one way I just want to add on here. Children seem resilient. Children seem to be able to cope. Sometimes they haven't developed the skills yet to process and deal with the things that they are going through. But at a later stage they will, and then they will go back and look at that in their life, and they might make and color in the spaces they weren't able to at these earlier ages. We really have to be careful here. Children are not resilient. Children do need our protection. They need our love. They need our support. They just don't always have everything yet to be able to process the things that are happening to them. And if we treat them as though they're resilient and we expose them to things that they're not yet ready for, at a later stage it's going to come back to bite us in the bum. Children have an inherent tendency towards growth and maturity, absolutely. Even children who are battling, they still learn stuff. Children with learning disabilities, children with even intellectual issues, they still grow, they still develop, they still learn things. Children are capable of positive self-direction, of course. Children's natural language is play, and yet how many of our programs take away time from playing and of course make them sit and do worksheets. Children have the right to remain silent, another one. We as parents come to school and our children seem upset and we take them home and we keep nagging and nagging and nagging them until they eventually give us something. Sometimes it's not even the truth, to just keep us quiet because they don't understand anxiety. They don't understand just having a bad day. And then, of course, off we jump on the bandwagon, and actually it wasn't much. Maybe they're just feeling a bit sick. Maybe they're just having a bad day. And so children have the ability, and they really have the right to remain silent if they're quiet, if they're needing to process. Children will take the therapeutic experience where they need to, and of course we're not working with them in that space, but we can substitute it and say children will take the learning experience to where they need it to be. So trust them, watch them, monitor them, and again, this is where our work comes in. We really have to refine our observational skills to see what is it that they need from the environment to support them. Okay, we cannot speed up their growth. It is what it is. Some kids seem to reach stages before others, and that's fine. We need to work with them where they're at. Okay, and so we're going to continue here. Principles for relationship with children. So really, really powerful here. So we're going to now do something naughty, in the sense we're going to notice within ourselves the things that we're battling with, and then offer the grace to the child. So I am not all-knowing. Therefore, I shall not even attempt to be. If you don't know an answer to something, as a parent, as a teacher, you are really able to say, I don't know that answer, my little boy, but let me go find out for you. Okay? I need to be loved. Therefore, I will be open to loving children. I want to be more accepting of the child in me. Therefore, I will with wonder and awe allow children to illuminate my world. Really lovely. Us teachers know, yes, they really keep us young. I know so little about the complex intricacies of childhood. Therefore, I will join with children in their struggles. I sometimes need a refuge. Therefore, I will provide a refuge for children. I like it too when I am fully accepted as the person I am. Therefore, I will strive to experience and appreciate the person of the child. I make mistakes. They are declarations of the way I am human and fallible. Therefore, I will relinquish the grasp I have on reality and will try to enter the world as experienced by a child. As we pause here, there are so many disciplinary policies I see at schools that are just so strict, and there's just no room to be human. And we must be careful the message that we give to these kids, because we show up as hypocrites if we do this. If I allow myself to make mistakes and to forget a flash stick at home that I needed to show the kids, or forget my lunch at home and need to run off to the tuck shop. If I'm allowed to make those mistakes, then children are also allowed to make mistakes. And it's not so much about the mistake, but if the child was able to, in a very mature way, rise above that and choose to be assertive and loving in fixing their mistake. And so getting demerits for leaving books at home, especially if it's the first time a child's done this. What are we telling this child? Getting a demerit because, the pants have grown, and now they get a prefix detention or prefix demerit because now, they had a growth spurt over the last 2 weeks, and now their hem is too short and it's not the end of the month. So mom can't afford to go and get new pants, or mom's busy working, a haircut. We really have to be very, very careful with this one. There are so many children who eventually get to teenage years and think, you know what? These adults are full of nonsense, and they don't deserve my respect because they don't keep up their side of the bargain, and they are very hypocritical in this sense. Okay, it feels good to be an authority, to provide answers. Therefore, I shall need to work hard to protect the children against me. I am more fully me when I feel safe. Therefore, I will be consistent in my interaction with children. That helps them feel emotionally safe. Sorry, that popped up the wrong way. I am the only person who can live my life. Therefore, I will not attempt to rule a child's life. Children, all people have free will. Not even God takes our free will from us. We freely choose to accept and love him back for what it is he's done for us. Just again, a sidestep, I was watching something very interesting where somebody said, you know, witchcraft is, it was Derek Prince. So if you want to Google him, you can. He shared that witchcraft is when we manipulate and try and take someone's free will from themselves. And so that was quite scary, because then I started realizing how many times as a wife, as a mother, as a teacher, do I do that. The hope that I experience and the will to live comes from within me. Therefore, I will recognize and affirm the child's will and selfhood. And lastly, I cannot make a child's hurt and fears and frustrations and disappointments go away. So therefore, I can soften the blow. Another thing that I do in our profiles is we try to profile a child's personality. Again, not to limit a child or put them in a box, but rather so that we can serve them better. And so what I have done on this slide is I've actually just put up the lost childhood message of each of the 9 personality types. So again, I think it's quite profound. So let's go through that list. Children want to know that they are good enough. They want to know that they are wanted. They need to know that they're loved for who they are, not for what they do. This is a big one in schools when we only do prizes and acknowledge children's achievements, and we don't actually praise and reward their sense of character, diligence, kindness, patience, the fact that they never give up. Where your focus is, what you shine your light on, so that will grow. And when we only give out trophies for kids' achievements, we promote jealousy, selfishness, and competitiveness, and again, more anxiety. That they are seen for who they are, that their needs is not a problem, that they are safe, that they are taken care of, that they are not going to be betrayed, that they can trust you, and that their presence matters. So how is it that we learn? We learn according to the feedback we get. We act and we get feedback from the people around us, from a way the situation unravels. You know, if I do something and the teacher screams at me, I don't want to do that again. If I do something and the teacher is happy and gives me praise and reward in connection and relationship, I'm going to want to do whatever that or resulted in that again. And so what feedback are we giving our kids? Verbal cues and non-verbal cues that say the following. So how do we tell them, I am here, I'm here with you? How do we tell them, I understand, I can understand what you're going through? How do we tell them, I care? And how do we tell them, I hear you? So of course we've got a lot of courses that are really places to go through this and equip parents and teachers in this. But these are the questions that we start with. And we really have to ensure that these children understand that we've got their backs. And this is the question, in what way are we doing this? So in completion today, I hope I've given you maybe not so many answers, but I'd love to be giving you more questions. So as you go through these, you can start asking, how is it that I can change who I am, what I'm doing to support Peter, to support Sarah, to support Michael, remembering that the children who need the most help usually ask for it in the most antisocial ways, because nobody has been there to help them develop skills to ask things assertively. Just remember that. The kid who is craving your attention is going to be a huge distraction in your class. The kid who is avoiding the work is going to be wasting time and possibly being the class clown. And these are the ways that these children are asking us to help them, because they don't know how to express it verbally. And so in 50 years from now, it will not matter what kind of car you drove, what kind of house you lived in, how much you had in your bank account, or what kind of clothes or what your clothes looked like. But the world will be a little bit better because you were important in the life of a child. So Mindful Moves, as I say, we do a lot to support our children Our children are our future, and in order to support our children, we must support the people working with them, our parents and our teachers. And we do this by making courses and workshops and talks available to people. We have neurofeedback, and again, I can go into more of that at a later stage to explain this beautiful technology and how it is that we actually build the brain up. We consult with parents and teachers. We do profiles where we don't diagnose, but we look at what are the root causes in terms of movement and primitive reflexes that could be interfering with this child's ability to sit and learn, concentrate, and have a sense of well-being. From these, we often give movement programs to help integrate these primitive reflexes. You can learn more about this on our website. We also do our best to help people with stress, calm the system, helping with anxiety, and we also use Educare to help people on a very deep level look at the things that are stopping them achieve their goals. And we use movement to help get that brain back online so that you can work towards them. So until next time, have a good day, and we will chat again soon.